Hey everyone, it's Charlene. Today I'm going to show you how I made this adorable Halloween card and give you all my tips and tricks for creating scenes. I'm using the new Lovely Layers Front Porch Falloween set. You can see I cut it apart just to make it easier to put in my storage bags. There's all these fun little additions, and this set is going to work with the previously released Front Porch set, and I'll talk more about that later in the video. To make things easier on myself, I went ahead and cut everything out of the different colors of cardstock, and I essentially started out by sorting my dies into groups for colors I wanted to use. That made things much easier, so I knew I wanted black for those, oranges for these, white for these ones, and so on and so forth. Before I forget, I did want to show you that you can also create a fall themed front porch. You don't have to do a Halloween card with this die set. There's leaves and a wreath, a wagon wheel, a light post, all kinds of different things. For the pumpkins, you're going to want to start by cutting the base in a green. That's what I did here. You could do it in any other color if you wanted like a white base. That would look really pretty. And I used two different shades of orange to cut the next layer for each of the pumpkins. It'd be really fun to do these though in different colors like a blue or a pink and be a little bit non-traditional with them. So I've added some glue to the back of my pumpkin, and then I'm just lining it up around the edges of the base piece. And now I'm doing the same thing for my second pumpkin here. I cut out two faces for the pumpkins, one from black cardstock and one from yellow cardstock, and I've positioned them where I want them to be on the pumpkins, so then I can just use a wax pickup tool to pick up the different parts of the face and make sure it glues exactly where I want it. If you're doing this for a fall card, you might want to skip the little faces because those definitely kind of scream out Halloween. For the little mouth here, I'm actually going to pick it up with some tweezers because my fingers tend to get in the way of things. You don't need very much glue on these tiny little pieces, just enough so that it will adhere to your pumpkin. I've repeated the process with my other pumpkin, and now we have these two cute, adorable little pumpkins to work with for our card. As I finish with certain items, I like to go ahead and add the dies back onto my packaging. That way I don't lose them, and so I know that I'm done with them. Next, I've got the little ghosty here, and you can see there's a separate die that cuts out his eyes and mouth. And then this is a little treat bag, and there is a base and then a top color that you can cut out. I decided to go with green here, but you could go with orange for the entire thing and make it look like its own little pumpkin that the ghost is carrying around. That would be really cute as well. And now I'm going to go ahead and glue this directly onto the body of my ghost. And the reason why is because there are these cute little hands that cut out with the ghost. Now they are obviously optional. You don't have to use the hands. You could just do the ghost body without hands on it. But I think it's super cute that our little ghost has hands here to hold down his little treat bag. So I'm going to glue those directly over the treat bag, and it looks like he is holding them. Once I get the right one down, I can come in and just repeat that process on the left-hand side. I am taking the glue up and over the treat bag, so that way I can make sure that nothing is wiggly, nothing gets lost here. For his mouth and his eyes, there are embossed details that are put into the ghost when you die cut it out, and those will help show you exactly where the mouth and those eyes are supposed to go. And those embossed details are not on the pumpkins, but it's actually really smart because, like I said, you can use the pumpkins without their faces, which I think is so clever because then you get a lot more use out of this set because you can use the pumpkins for all of fall. You could make a Thanksgiving card, just a general fall card, or even any kind of card that just happens to happen during fall, like a welcome to the neighborhood card or congratulations on your new home, and it will kind of go with the season. So here's our cute little ghosty holding his treat bag. And I wanted to point out too, you could just use elements from this set to make a card. Like you could put ghosts in a row, you could put the pumpkins in a row, something like that. You could just have these guys kind of inside of a shaker, shaking around. Lots of cute options here. I'm going to move on to our little kitty cat, and these are some teeny tiny little eyeballs for the kitty. So if these kinds of die cuts that are super small are difficult for you to work with, don't worry, you can color these eyes in with like a yellow paint pen or something like that and just dot the eyes, or even use tiny little yellow jewels. That would look really cute as well. Now I'm going to put together all of the windows. So there's 2 side windows, and then there is a window that goes over the top of the door. Now there is doors that attach to this other black piece, which I'll show you up close in just a moment. I think the window that goes over the top of the door is really cool because they have one that just cuts out normal, and then they have one that cuts out to look kind of like a spider web, which I think is just such a cute little detail. So I'm going to start out here by adding some glue, and I'm going to glue it right over the black die cut, which is the backing. So you could change whatever color the backing is depending on what you're going for. You could make it look like stained glass. If you wanted it to look like it was light inside the house, you could do it in a yellow or an orange. I wanted it to be black because I wanted it to look nice and spooky inside. So now I'll do the side windows, and these are super easy to line up. You just pinch around the edges to ensure that everything is even on all 4 sides. And now we can move along to our doors. So I'm going to add glue on the back of the door, and then you see this piece here that all cuts out with score lines. So you just fold those score lines over, and then you're going to glue a door to each side on the flaps that stick up. And this will make a lot more sense once we put this on the card. But essentially, you're going to have doors that open up to a spooky inside, which I think is absolutely adorable. So there's everything there. Before we move on, I wanted to show you, this is that front porch set, the original set that is meant to coordinate with this. And there's several different ones. There's a spring one, there's a holiday one. So definitely check that out if you're getting the front porch set. You have lots of options. But I did want to show you, you don't have to use that. You could still use this set without the main front porch set, and you could just take a card base like I have here and treat that as the house. So then you can add all your little elements. You can have your ghost flying into your doors, add some pumpkins here and there, put a little cute kitty cat, maybe another pumpkin, grab your little tree. I'm going to put it behind the cat there. You could add some spider webs along the edging of your card. You could do like bunting across the top with a spider web, something like that. And then you have these cool little iron gates. You put those there, and then you could stamp your sentiment right along the bottom, and that would look really cute just by itself. So I did use the front porch lovely layers. I've cut out a few of the main pieces. This set has its own separate door, so if you preferred that door, you could use it with the Falloween set and it would work great. And there's a couple other things in here too. There's a light, there's a topiary. You could make a spooky topiary and use it in the Falloween set if you wanted to. So lots of options. I wanted my main house portion to be purple because you're going to see there's some pops of purple, orange, and green throughout on this card, which are just great Halloween colors. People always associate them with Halloween and they go together really well. This piece is going to go over the top of the purple piece, so you're going to see that embossed detail that looks kind of like a cobblestone or like pebbles that are on the side of a house. And then this next piece is going to run right along the top here. This creates some wood grain detailing, and it also creates some dimension to your card. I decided to go ahead and cut out a second one and layer it on top because I wanted there to be even more dimension. If you really, really love dimension, you could also put some foam squares back behind there. I know I'm going to be popping up my elements on my card, like my ghost and my pumpkins, so I'm trying to balance and get some dimension here, but also not have too much on the card. Now I'm going to bring in these side pieces, and I chose to cut these in the same gray that I used for the door, and these are going to go right over the arch. And then my roof line is also going to be that same gray. So that gray is going to tie in all the way throughout, and you're going to see that once we get the doors glued on there, it'll be much more noticeable. So here's that roof line piece. It goes right over the top, and you can see it makes it so that back black piece looks like the shingles that are sticking out over the top. And then there's two little detail pieces here. Now these have that same kind of like pebble or cobblestone pattern on them, but I decided to do them in the same gray. They are going to get pretty lost behind all of our different elements once we've put them all on the card. So really it's just a matter of balancing the colors throughout on the card, because now we're going to have gray that's kind of consistently throughout. Here's my favorite part, is gluing these doors on. I don't know why, but these doors are absolutely adorable. I think they're so cute. So you just glue them towards the bottom center of your little house here, and then you can glue your side windows right along the side on the edge. I found that to be the easiest way to put this together. Same thing, here goes the left window, and then I'll bring in that top window, same thing. Gonna add my glue there to the back of it. I think that detail with the spider web is so stinking cute. I can't get over those kinds of things. Those are the kinds of things where I look at a card and I'm just like, oh, that's so good. Okay, so I originally cut out the spider webs from white cardstock. I changed my mind though and decided to cut them out from vellum. I think this makes a huge difference and makes them look really cool. I'm going to trim this piece down here because I want it to actually go in one of the corners of the house, and then I'm going to use the top piece that's going to kind of go up towards the center. So you can see it's going to glue right in here, and then that top piece is going to glue right in the point of the house. I'm just adding a little bit of glue on here, one, because I don't want the glue to show too badly through the vellum, and two, because I want the vellum to be kind of free floating in the center. I want it to look like it's able to move around because it is a spider web, right? So I'm going to put this here in the corner, and then I'm just going to use my tweezers, and I'm going to run my tweezers along the edges where they have the glue. Now that's going to accomplish a couple things. One, it's going to make sure it's nice and adhered, but second, it's going to help that glue that's back behind there to evenly press out behind the vellum so that it's not as noticeable. So they're both done. You can see how they're kind of able to move around. Now for our ghosty, I want to make sure that our left-hand door stays closed and the right one is popping open. So I'm going to bring in a foam square here, and I'm going to put it right behind the left-hand door towards the kind of the edge of the door, so that way it holds down. And now when I put my ghost on there, it's going to look like the ghosty is flying into the house. I am adding a few foam squares on the back of the ghost as well, so I went ahead and put those, removed my release tape, and I can pop this down, making sure it looks nice and centered and doesn't go on there wonky. I think right about there is going to look good. And now I've put my house onto an A2 card base. I haven't glued it down or anything like that, but this is just to help me figure out where I want to put the pumpkin. See, so I'm gluing the pumpkin to the edge of that bottom cobblestone piece, and then I'm going to add a foam square to the back of this pumpkin so it pops up a little bit more, and it's actually going to also kind of help keep that door pushed down a little bit. For our cute little kitty cat, I've added some glue to the back left-hand side because it's going to glue over that left-hand cobblestone piece and kind of go off the edge a little bit. I am going off the edges just slightly. Here for our lovely gates, I think these are so cool. I actually brought in some of the metallic silver pigment ink because this is going to give them that nice shiny kind of irony look, and they're going to look really good. You do want to dry this though with a heat tool. You just want to make sure that it's nice and dry before you move on to the next step, so that way you don't smear any of that pigment ink on other areas of your card. I added some glue to the back, and I'm gluing it and tucking it back behind the pumpkin. This one on the left hand side, I'm going to tuck back behind the tail of the ghost. Next, I'm going to move on to creating the background for my card. So I have a piece of dark navy cardstock here, and I'm using my splatter box because I'm going to be using some sprays to create a nice kind of spooky night sky. I've got some picket fence white oxide, I've got some prize ribbon oxide, and then wilted violet distress spritz, and you'll see I'm going to bring in one more color. I'll start out here with the prize ribbon. I'm just going to do a couple of random sprays here and there, nothing too crazy. Then I'll bring in the distress spritz and again some light sprays here and there, and that's going to give us that mica purple shine here and there. For the picket fence, I'm actually just going to use the nozzle portion because I want there to truly be more of like a splatter, so it almost ends up like you have little white orbs or stars in the background. And so I'm using a tool to flick against the nozzle, and that helps to get those tiny little dots. I am going to bring in some more here of the prize ribbon, the oxide, spray this a few more times, and then I'm going to bring in some water. Now the water is going to help these colors and the mica move around a little bit. I decided I needed some shiny blue in the background as well, so I'm bringing in some Uncharted Mariner Distress Spritz here as well. Sprayed that, adding some more water. Having that water is just really going to get things to move around and create more layers, and then I'm going to dry it fully with a heat tool. So you can see here this fun background with those beautiful shiny metallic shimmers, and once it's completely dry, nothing is coming off on my hand. So if you have those issues, just make sure that your paper's totally dry. Now I'm going to bring in some liquid glue again to go ahead and glue this to my card base. And when I do this, I like to just take it corner to corner. That's the easiest way I have found to apply a background to a card base, and it ensures that you don't have anything hanging over the edges. I did add some low loft foam tape here to the back of my scary little haunted house, and so I'm just removing that release tape. This house is going to sit perfectly on the front of an A2 size card base, so I'm just making sure where the roof line ends, it lines up with the edges of the card, and that the bottom of the house lines up with the bottom of the card, and the point lines up with the top. I'm bringing in some shimmery sparkle pen here, and I'm going to color over the top of our sweet little kitty cat. I just felt like the black cat was getting lost against everything there in the corner. For some additional fun details, I brought in one of the large black pearl stickers, and I used that to create a doorknob on our right door. And I brought in 2 of the small purple gem stickers, and I put them in his little treat sack there to look like shiny little candies peeking out. I think that's super cute. For our sentiment off camera, I did stamp and heat emboss one of the sentiments from the Sweet Halloween sentiment set. There are lots of fun little sayings there, and I'm heating that up with my heat tool, and I'm going to cut it out now with the coordinating die. I also cut out 2 extra layers of the die cut and glued those back behind there so they'd have a little bit of dimension, and I'm going to glue this right along the roof line there. I did take my tree and I cut it apart, and I'm going to tuck it in the top right hand corner and the top left hand corner. So off camera, I added some glue and glued those in, and that finishes off this sweet, cute, spooky Halloween card. Love the vellum spider webs up there. You open it up, you can put a fun little message and our little ghosties flying inside. I think the entire card is just adorable. All right, guys, I hope you picked up some tips and tricks today. Please be sure to like and subscribe, as well as hit that notification bell so that you'll know about future videos here on the Honeybee Stamps YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.